The New York Jets are now on the board.
Okay, Jet fans, Darrell Revis.
Being in New York has been one of the greatest blessings.
Zach's Fifth Avenue ran that one right now.
The New York Jets select.
Welcome to another episode, NFL Draft Preview, breaking down the safeties. Dane, I'm putting you right on the hot seat from the get. Jets fans, they've seen the mock drafts. They see the pick, Kyle Hamilton, the Notre Dame safety, to the Jets at number 4. Doesn't feel like there's a whole lot of love for that selection. So can you make the case why Kyle Hamilton is a legitimate option for the green and white that early in the draft?
Well, I think it's perfectly fair for those fans to feel that way, and I think just looking at the Jets and the organizational philosophies that this front office has, you could make the argument that they don't value a safety with a top 5, top 7, that high of a pick. But if you're going to draft a safety early, it better be a special one, and Kyle Hamilton is exactly that. You could make the argument pretty easily that he is the most talented player in this entire draft. He's a very rare guy, 6'3.5", 220, but he has the range that he can play single high safety. He has that versatility where he can come down and play in the box. He can play over the slot. He can do all these different things that you want a safety to do and be a matchup weapon. And that's what today's NFL with offenses, using tight ends the way they do, using all the receivers and for route combinations the way they do. You need defensive backs that not only have the athletic ability, but also the intelligence to match what the offense is doing. And Kyle Hamilton does that.
Daxton Hill, you write in your evaluation that he's a nickel defender, but you have him at safety. So can you just describe his play style and why you think he could be versatile and where he best projects in the NFL?
Yeah, we just talked about the versatility of Kyle Hamilton and just how different of a player he is. Daxton Hill, he has a lot of versatility as well. It just looks a little different. I think he is in a lot of ways, the ideal modern day nickel defender for the NFL. Not the biggest guy in terms of just build and length, but his package of skills, the athleticism, the toughness, the football IQ, it's all there for him to cover the slot. He's an outstanding blitzer, really good in run support. The competitive toughness is outstanding.
Somebody that could have played in the Senior Bowl because of his age and because he's a senior and didn't was Jaquan Brisker, the Penn State safety. Has not being able to see him kind of changed the way you've thought about him, or has he been pretty steady in the 60s spot in your top 100 throughout the process?
I think he's been around that range where you see a good player. You see an athletic player, has range, he can cover. There were a few things on his senior tape that I think made you create a little bit of concern. He's a little tight through his hips. I thought most of his positive plays were coming downhill as opposed to playing in reverse. I missed more tackles than you want to see. And I know he was a little banged up this year. So I think that maybe there's a little bit of an excuse there because his junior year, he didn't miss any tackles. The coaches at Penn State say he's one of the best workers on the team. The consistency factor. He's the type of leader that holds guys accountable. So it's not a hard guy to sell to a room if you want to bet on Jaquan Brisker as coming in, filling a safety spot, and being a good player for your team.
Moving on here, Cine, Georgia. Feel like he's a guy where if you follow the draft and you follow it pretty well, don't feel like he's a guy that a lot of Jets fans or maybe just a lot of fans are all too familiar with compared to a guy like Jalen Pitre, who was at the Senior Bowl, Brian Cook at the Senior Bowl. So what is the book on Cine, and why do you like him as a safety prospect?
And honestly, I feel a little vindicated because before the season, I had Cine as a top 40 prospect back in August, just because I was really excited about the traits, and I think he lived up to it. I think he's put himself in that early discussion to be a possible potential top 50 pick in this draft. You know how much I love backgrounds and, to learn where these guys have come from. This is Cine's background. Born in Haiti, grew up in Florida, learned to play football in Boston, became a top recruit in Texas, and then became an All-American at Georgia. He's an enforcer versus the run. He's got athleticism versus the pass. Doesn't necessarily have many holes in his game, and just a quality starter at the next level.
Last week when we talked about linebackers, you thought Devin Lloyd was the right answer for the Jets. Mm-hmm. who's the player given draft situation and player that you think fits what the Jets want to do, and also you think that fits where the Jets want to select him or would want to select him?
Jalen Pitre, I keep coming back to him. That versatility that he offers, with the different ways he can impact the game. He's a smart player. He's experienced. He's a fifth-year senior. Has played a lot of football, over 50 career games at Baylor. The hyper competitiveness that he has, the cover skills, just the ability to be a big nickel, but also can play deep, can play. The athletic versatility really gives him a lot of ability to play all over the field. And so I think that's something that will help that Jets defense from day one. And I think that's what this team could be looking for. So in the early second round, Pitre, I think that would certainly make sense.
All right, that's all we have on this episode of NFL Draft Preview. Breaking down the safeties. Dane, thanks a lot. We'll talk to you next week.
Thanks, Ethan.